DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Something a little bit different on the podcast today. We decided to rank the 5 best New Zealand rugby coaches. Now, of course, this is completely subjective. It's just what myself and Lachlan think. We're going to give some reasons as to why we have these men in this order, a couple of honourable mentions, and just explain some of what they've done. But to be honest, when you go through this list, it is a pretty impressive one at that. And all 5 of these men could be considered, if you did a list of international coaches, I would say in the top 10. Certainly most of them. Number 1 on the list, Scott Robertson, the All Black coach. This is the number 1 job in world rugby. I know he hasn't won anything yet apart from he had a winning record last year, but this guy also won 7 Super Rugby titles. Number 2, I've got Joe Schmidt, now currently coaching the Wallabies. Very impressive with Ireland, of course. He coached Ireland to beat the All Blacks for the very first time, Chicago 2016. 3rd on the list, I'm going Jamie Joseph. Yes, he's coached a Super Rugby winning side, Otago, the Highlanders 2015. Plus, of course, coached Japan in 2019. Very impressive in that pool. They were beating both Scotland and Ireland in that World Cup. Vern Cotter in at 4. He won a French top 14 title with Clermont. Coached them for about 8 years. As well as that, coached Scotland, had a winning record. And number 5 on the list at the moment, Clayton McMillan, who it is only a matter of time, I think, before he coaches internationally as well. Yes! Let's kick it off with Razor. You were shaking your head when I said that.
Yeah, I disagree.
Why?
Absolutely. Because now, congratulations and well done to Mr. Scott Robertson for his incredible success with the Crusaders and did a good job before that with Canterbury and has had a good, I think, first year with the All Blacks. Yes. There was a lot of green shoots.
What did we give them at the end of the year? Kind of a C plus B minus, wasn't it?
I would have given them a B minus.
Okay.
I think. I can't remember
for
what
an
my
All
grade
Black coach, that's not a great grading.
No, but I think everyone needs to understand. There's got to be context. The start of 2024 wasn't too good for the All Blacks. They looked real shoddy against England, lost that test to Argentina, but really impressive, at least in the first test against South Africa, and then the end of the year, I thought it looked really good.
And if we'd beaten France at the end of the year, we probably would have upgraded that to a B, right? But we did it.
But if we beat South Africa in the World Cup final, we'd have 4 World Cups, and they'd only have 3.
And it would be Sir Ian Foster.
It'd be Sir Ian Foster. But I don't think Razor's the best because he hasn't done it long enough and successful enough at international level. Now, it's all subjective. What is success? Because the idea of success for the All Blacks is the coach is totally different for Japan and for Ireland. But Jamie Joseph was in that Japanese role for, I think, 7 years. I've got some stats here from 2016 to 2023. I'm just saying, but he had that role for 7 years. You got Joe Schmidt, who was in his role for Ireland for a long time as well. Both took that team to new heights.
Let's talk about them in a second. So where would you put Razor?
No, but this is part of my point. Razor's not as good as them from an international
perspective.
Where would you put Razor? He's 3rd.
Okay. What? He's 3rd?
He's 3rd. He's behind those 2,
Explain.
I think.
I've got Joe Schmidt at 2.
This is the point. Joe Schmidt is... It's because of the international success of those 2 coaches. Again, success is subjective. Now, Razor hasn't got that. If he has if the All Blacks go unbeaten this year, if he can win the Rugby Championship, which the All Blacks didn't do last year, by the way, and Ian Foster did that all 4 years. He was the coach.
Okay.
Then it's a different
conversation. But Ian Foster's not liked by the media.
No, we're not getting into that. We're not getting into that. So when it comes to Jamie Joseph and Joe Schmidt, they toiled away at the international level with a team that was at a certain level and took them to another level. Scott Robertson has a chance to do that. And heck, if he wins the World Cup in 2027, he's the best of the bunch.
Okay, I will concede this, that the All Black coach also gets given every resource there is available, about $100 million budget. I mean, you can pick and... Okay, and so, did Joe Schmidt, when he started with Ireland, have the same resource base that the All Black coach currently has, right?
No, you're comparing Manchester United to Southampton. They're totally different kettles of fish.
Joe Schmidt took Ireland to be the competitive force. He started where Ireland is now. That was to do with him.
Yeah, there's similarities there, I think, between, not to bring my own teams into the conversation here, but Liverpool with Jurgen Klopp and then moving on to Arne Slot. Okay,
he did the base work, the groundwork.
Not exactly what Sir Alex Ferguson did with David Moyes taking over, but the point being that Ireland have maintained or exceeded those levels. Now we're at a point now with Ireland that we judge them on World Cups and if they can actually get to the semi-finals.
Yeah, but we have to. That's because they raised the bar themselves.
Exactly.
And remember that great stat is since. Well, it's not a great stat for us, but since Schmidt coached them in Chicago, we've played 10 times since, and it's 5-5.
Yeah. Now, 2 of those wins for them in New Zealand.
The only other team that has anything like that is South Africa against us. And we know, every other team, we have a much better winning record. All right, okay, I'll concede that. He's number one in your book. But I'm not putting Razor at 3.
No, I think Jamie Joseph's number 1 in my book.
Jamie Joseph?
Yep.
Let's talk about that guy then.
Because the thing that he has over Joe Schmidt, now, again, this then brings Razor back into the argument, is that he's got a Super Rugby title and what he did with the Highlanders. Now, Jamie Joseph said something really interesting on this show when we had him on a few weeks back, where he said that every team that I've coached, I feel like I've been battling away and we've been the underdogs. I've had to overcome almost the expectation. I sat there and said, no, really? And then he's probably got a point. Japan and the Highlanders are the two main jobs that he's had. Yep. And like Joe Schmidt with Ireland, he's taken those roles, and actually Razor with the Crusaders, to be fair, and taken the team to another level. So what he's done with Japan, I think, in the 2019 World Cup, it's incredible. Yeah. Obviously, you know, Eddie Jones did a good job in 2015 with that win over South Africa, but Eddie Jones, a bit like how we talk about Mike Tyson with his career, he burns bright and it looks really nice for a short period of time.
And
then
Russ never sleeps on,
and then often it can fall apart. Whereas Jamie Joseph, and granted Japan have fallen apart the last couple of years themselves, but what he did in 2019 and maintaining what was done in 2015 is a pretty damn good job.
So look at Jamie Joseph, and this is why I started the show by saying this. He will have an international coaching job. I reckon
it's criminal that
it's going to be next year, I think. He's going to be shoulder tapped. But give him the reins and the budget. Like, say, put him in charge of England, maybe. And imagine what he would do with the amount of money that they've got and the resources that they've got and the playing base that they've got. Don't give him a job like Australia. Look, don't take the Wallaby job, okay? Because that's just...
that's what we've got to be worried about. That's what we've got to be worried about. I don't know if it is bound to fail.
It is bound to fail, mate. They don't have the playing stocks. That's it for...
How do you grow talent?
Well, okay, first they've got to stop playing cricket, AFL, football, swimming, rugby league, and you've got to have your best male athletes in Australia wanting to play rugby. Jamie, and no coach has got control over that, and that's where Australian rugby falls down. And will always fall down until they can get their best young guys playing rugby.
One thing that they did, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because I was very young at the time, but at least looking back and researching, one thing that Australia did a lot of in the early 2000s, or they essentially poached rugby league players, and they brought a lot of those over, and a few of them paid off. Lottie Zakiri probably was
I think he's a better league player, actually, to be honest.
Well, I know, but he came to rugby, or went to rugby, and was there for a while. They've done this with Joseph Swiley. There's been plenty of headlines over the last couple of years of Rugby Australia trying to poach league players, which league might not like, and they'll sit there and laugh and pull the finger and say, keep trying.
Well, they've got to do that. What else can they do? They have to do that. Because, look, it is a minority sport playing-wise. It's a bit like cricket here in New Zealand. In Australia, it's not the go-to sport for young guys. Just on that, though, wait till Joey Manu starts playing for the All Blacks.
Yeah.
There's our answer at centre, people.
Well, hold up. We said that about Roger. Now, Joey Manu's under Shag and Foz. But he's doing it in a better reach. He's gone to Japan and he's staying out of the spotlight.
Exactly.
But just quickly with the Wallabies, one, we do need to be worried about them potentially taking Jamie Joseph because I think that job is more attractive than the Highlanders one. But also, all you need is 20 to 30 good test players. And I think Australia can find those.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's all you need.
No, but because you've only got 15 on the field and 23 in a matchday squad. It doesn't matter that the All Blacks have 5 good fullbacks.
Okay, so we all agree that we've got Razor, Schmidt, and Joseph
in the top 3.
Yes. Vern Cotter comes in at 4 for me.
Yeah,
because of coaching Clermont to a top 14 title. Look, against Scotland is a bit like coaching Australia. You're up against it, and are you ever going to turn
He had a winning record at Scotland.
I know, but that side into a Champions League level international rugby side. Look, we've been talking about Scotland for years that we want and they never quite get there. But that winning a top 14 title and coaching in France for as long as he did, because they ex coaches like they do in the Premier League.
Yeah, and he coached Clermont to a Heineken Cup, which is now the Champions Cup, right? A final there as well.
Yeah, the European, the Champions League.
Yeah, it's like the Champions League, Rugby's Champions League, essentially.
Yeah. I could call it the Heineken Cup as well. It just makes it just easier to remember, isn't it?
But he did an all right job with Fiji because when he was their coach, remember we had those 2 tests here in New Zealand against them in 2022, 2021 it might have been. And they were competitive. But the biggest tick of approval for Vern Cotter is not only winning a title, Super Rugby title with the Blues, but it's how he turned that team, a really soft team it felt from the outside looking in, turned them into
Well, he just changed the way that they played. And the fact is he had to convince all of those guys that to win, you've got to play like this, which is again why I started. They're playing like they did at the moment before he arrived.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be fascinating to see over the next few weeks, can he actually regroup them and say, okay, we need to actually get back to that mentality we had last year, which was absolute bulldozer, wasn't it?
Because their roster is also, they've got depth absolutely in the playmaking roles, and they've got a huge forward pack that, you take Akira Ioane out of the team, for example, who, is a contentious player, at least amongst us two, but is talented. But you put Anton Segner in there, who's touted as a future All Black.
Yeah, he's been playing well. And Hoskins coming back as well. All
Hoskins
right.
as well, yep.
Number 5, Clayton McMillan, who again I think has got international pedigree, and it's just a matter of when, isn't it?
And there's nothing wrong with being bottom of this list, but Clayton, just because he probably doesn't have that Super Rugby title or the international experience.
But
he will get.
Now, he's going to get it this year. They're winning it, the Chiefs, this year. I'll say it now, mate. They're winning it.
Well,
unless they get a catastrophic run of injuries and just completely fall off the wagon. But right now, there doesn't look like another team that touches that team.
Agree. And the incredible thing about Clayton McMillan, he's had this sudden rise because he didn't have a head coaching role with a sort of a major team, if you will, a major senior team until 2015, which was Bay Plenty. Before that, he had a whole lot of development team and under or junior team type roles and assistant roles. And he took over Bay of Plenty. They won the championship, second division, got promoted up to the top division in NPC when they had that structure. Took over the Chiefs job, and they've been to 3 finals. Lost all 3, unfortunately. One of them was an Aotearoa final. But they've been building, and he's actually done a very good job for a short space of time. He's had a senior head coaching role.
So those are our top 5. And you can pick them in whatever order, but it is Razor, Schmidt, Jamie Joseph, Vern, Cotter,
that's your top 5.
And Clayton McMillan. Honourable mentions before we go.
And these guys aren't exactly head coaches, but there's a few that I love, and I'm sure you will share this as well. Andrew Goodman is top of that list. Mm-hmm. He was at the Crusaders for a little while. I think he was Tasman's head coach. He was one of the coaches. I'm pretty sure he was the head coach. And he's been in Ireland, and he has risen to be one of the most coveted attacking coaches, assistant coaches.
Well, I'll add Tony Brown to that mix.
Yeah, and Tony Brown's in that mix as well.
Because what's he done to South Africa? He's improved them exponentially, hasn't he? Yeah. They're now a backline that attacks as well. Yeah. And they've got variations. Look at what they did last year. You watched and looked at the South African team and went, what? Who's influenced that? Yeah. That's him.
I think there's got to be some credit paid to Tana Umanga, who still has one thing in sports that I think is actually really tricky for big name star players when they were a player and they're one of the greats at the time is that doesn't often translate into head coaching. It's almost the reverse.
Well, we saw it with John Curran, for example, right?
Yeah, John Curran. And so for Tana Umanga, I think to still have a job and actually be, because Moana Pacifica got to another level last year. It's a damn tough job. And he took them, it felt, to another level last year. They had a bit more talent, a few more good coaches around them. But he's done a pretty good job to still be.
And I'm not discounting Rob Penny either.
No, not Rob. I'll get to it. Tana Umanga also did a really good job with Candice Monaco when he was their coach. Rob Penny. Now, one thing about Rob Penny that's interesting is that he coached Canterbury from 2006 to 2010. From 2007 to 2010, Jamie Joseph coached Wellington. They played in 2 finals, and I think they played in a semi-final. So a semi-final in 07, and then 08 and 09 they played in finals, and Rob Penny won 2 of them.
Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Agree or disagree. It's just a debate. But Razor is still number 1.
DSPN.